grab a cup, and start your engines. You're listening to Cars and Coffee on 91.3 WHJE. Good afternoon, and welcome to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. Have some news to talk about. It's going to be on the shorter side. It's the off season. There's not much to talk about here. We've got some IndyCar news, some news from the world of F1. Actually, we actually have more news from F1 than we do from IndyCar, and that's a little bit out of the ordinary. We've got some sports car news. We might as well just dive right in. On Fox NFL Sunday, this might have been a couple weeks ago. This was 2 weeks ago, before Thanksgiving, the weekend before Thanksgiving, on Fox NFL Sunday. The crew there, it's Jimmy Johnson, Michael Strahan, couple others I keep forgetting, Terry Bradshaw, I think. A lot of very important football people on Fox NFL Sunday. They announced not only Will Power's 2025 IndyCar livery, which looks really good. It's almost reminiscent of those old Chip Ganassi Target cars, the Lightning Bolt Target cars, which I really like. The pace car driver for the 2025 Indianapolis 500 is going to be the one and only Michael Strahan. It's great to see Fox actually to pour all of this effort and money into marketing IndyCar. It's great to see. Graham Rahal was on Big Noon Kickoff for the Ohio State-Michigan game. That game was interesting. And also, IU Purdue. I know this isn't a football show, but sorry, Purdue fans. So Michael Strahan will be your pace car driver for the 2025 Indianapolis 500. The next bit of IndyCar news, we have a driver signing. The number of seats that are available is closing quickly. Stingray Robb has signed a deal with Juncos Hollinger Racing. We do not know whether he will be in the 77 or the 78. I assume Valtteri Bottas has been looking around. The IndyCar section of the store here, and he might be looking at Juncos Hollinger Racing, which means he might not even need to change his number. So I don't think they put Rob in the lead car, but if they can't get anyone better than Romain Grosjean, I think they'll take Valtteri Bottas over Romain Grosjean. But honestly, who knows? It's silly season. It could end up being very, very silly. But yeah, we've got how many seats are left? There's one Juncos seat. There's one Rahal seat, and there's both coin cars. My theory on the coin cars, I don't think we will know who will be in those coin cars until January. If not, race week itself. Now that I say that, now that I've said it on air, that probably means that the news about who's going to be driving for Dale Coyne is going to come out, I don't know, maybe an hour after I get off air here. That's just how my luck seems to be with these shows. Stingray Robb is signed with JHR. That crosses one off the board. There are four left. One JHR, one RLL, and the two Dale Coyne cars, which are really just a last resort for anyone who really needs a ride. The last bit of IndyCar news before I go into some of my own selfish advertising here. Prema Racing, the only non-charter team on the IndyCar grid, has snagged Michael Cannon from AJ Foyt Racing as their new, I guess he's their engineering director, something like that. He deals with setups. He's the reason why AJ Foyt's been so good at the 500 this year. For any of you Foyt fans out there, because I know there are a couple, myself included, they still have Michael Cannon's setups. So any AJ Foyt Racing fans that are worried that you guys don't have Michael Cannon anymore, you basically do. You have all of his knowledge in setup form. But this is really good for Prema. I think at this point it's safe to say that these cars are going to get into the Indy 500. Now, when May comes around, I'm probably going to be wrong because, again, my predictions tend to not age well. There tends to be a lot of opinions said in this booth by me that age like milk. Yeah, so that's going to be good for Prema, I think, in the long run, especially on the ovals. Michael Cannon's one of the best in the business. He's been at Ganassi. He's been everywhere. But he was revitalizing for Foyt, and especially the 14 car for Santino Ferrucci, who almost won the 500 in 2023. Had a decent shot last year. Hopefully he brings some of that talent to the Prema camp with Callum Ilott and Robert Schwartzman. Before we kick it to a quick break here, before getting back to the F1 news, I want to remind everyone that Cars and Coffee has an Instagram page, carsandcoffee_WHJE. Go follow if you want to get in touch with the show and possibly even get on the show. I'm always looking for guests to help extend the show and have more stuff to talk about in general. These shows are also uploaded in full to YouTube at youtube.com/TWIRvids, so you can watch or listen back to previous shows. I have all 5 of the shows I've done this year so far uploaded there. So if you want to go check that out, suit yourself. Before we get to the F1 and the F1 drama as we set up for the final race of the year at Abu Dhabi and come out of the swing at Qatar and Vegas, we're going to take it to a song break. We are going to go to one of my favorite songs, drum-wise, since I am a drummer. This is My Name is Mud by Primus. Don't go anywhere. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this right now, that means you're listening to the YouTube version of the show. I just want to say thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss another show and more highlights from the TWIR channel. Now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. That was My Name is Mud by Primus, one of my favorite Primus songs, one of the very few that we have here at 91.3 WHJE. Welcome back to Cars and Coffee. We are talking about some F1 stuff now. We actually have a lot to talk about. There's actually been a fairly long string of races. We had Las Vegas and we had Qatar back to back. 2 very logistically interesting races to put on back-to-back weeks, because they're basically as far apart as you can get from 2 tracks. We had George Russell win at Las Vegas. Nothing really interesting happened there. At the beginning of practice, Red Bull discovered they had brought the wrong wing. I never saw an update either on like Racer.com or on Twitter that ever got rectified, which is interesting because they discovered this, I think, on Friday afternoon. So this is first practice was Thursday night. They discovered that they had the wrong wing on. They brought a wing that was too draggy for the Las Vegas Strip circuit, which is very, very aptly named because the track is about 40% Las Vegas Strip. So you're going to need a lot of straight line speed. But they brought a wing that was too shallow, too steep. It was creating too much drag. I don't know if they ever air freighted the 2 new ones, or more importantly, a new one for Max to help him win the championship. Max did win the championship anyway. Lando Norris basically had to pull off a miracle. He basically had to win like the last 3 races to lock up the title. I don't think that includes the Qatar sprint. I might be wrong, but I never really paid attention to the point scenarios because it was basically a foregone conclusion that Max was going to win anyway. It was just a matter of when. So Verstappen locks up the title at Vegas. Russell wins off to Qatar. This is where stuff gets a little bit interesting. Sprint, I don't even talk about the sprint because nothing happened in the sprint. Verstappen won Qatar because they brought the correct car parts. Norris bottled a start again, I think. Yeah, Norris bottled another start. He was almost going to pass Verstappen for the lead and then just didn't. But moving on a happier note, Zhou Guanyu scored points in the absolute tractor that is the Kick Sauber C44. That car is horrendously slow. I don't know how he scored points. They've actually been doing really well. They've had like a couple of 12th place, 11th places, but honestly, out of the two Sauber drivers, Zhou Guanyu and the previously mentioned Valtteri Bottas, who might be sniffing around IndyCar, I did not expect Zhou to be the one to score points. That honestly surprised me. Bottas did finish 11th, so it was almost a double points day for Sauber. Zhou finished 8th, got 4 points, which means that Zhou Guanyu in a Sauber has scored more points at Qatar alone than Sergio Perez has in the last 5 races in a Red Bull. Sergio Perez needs to leave Red Bull. I think he just needs to retire. The jig is up. It's over. It's over for Sergio Perez. Put Liam Lawson in that car. But good for Sauber. They're finally on the board. They are a solid 10th in the Constructors' Championship unless they pull off a miracle at Abu Dhabi. But honestly, good for Sauber. Now everyone's got points. So moving on to a slightly less miserable side of the field, i.e., I don't know, where are they now? 8th place in the Constructors' Championship. Alpine have said goodbye to Esteban Ocon. And Jack Doohan, his replacement for next year, will drive the car at Abu Dhabi. So Esteban Ocon, he had an interesting collision with his teammate Pierre Gasly at Monaco back in May. Went airborne right before the tunnel. That was basically the last straw for him because Ocon has an interesting, he has a very infamous reputation for colliding with his teammates. That was the last straw for him at Alpine. They revealed, I think about a week later, before Canada, that Ocon was not going to come back to the team next year. He ended up signing for Haas, which means I feel really bad for Ollie Behrman, who has to be his teammate at Haas next year. But he signed for Haas. On the PR side, when Alpine released this statement saying they've let Ocon go one race early, this is on the PR reason for this, not because Ocon's a bad driver. He kept running into his teammates too much, and also running into other cars, as demonstrated in Qatar, where he ran into someone. I forget who it was. I think it was it was Franco Colapinto, I think. But the PR reason for Ocon's early departure is so he can drive for Haas at the I think it's the Young Driver Test. No, it's not the Young Driver Test. It's the postseason tire test for all the teams. So he's going to drive for Haas there. Jack Doohan, who actually got into a debate with Kimi Antonelli for who was going to get the number 12. It ended up being Kimi. So Jack is going to drive the number 7. Well, probably not at this race because he doesn't get a choice because he's not a full-time driver. But Jack Doohan will drive the number 7 next year. I never really talked about numbers much here because in F1 you get to choose your own number, you get to choose your own race number. So it's not like IndyCar where the numbers are assigned to the teams. Numbers are assigned to the drivers. So for the rookies, I think the ones that are known is that Ollie Behrman's going to drive the 87. And Jack Doohan's going to drive the 7, and Kimi Antonelli, as mentioned previously, is going to drive the number 12. Interestingly, on the team front, we will be getting an 11th team in 2026. It will be the General Motors factory team, but it seems to have less Andretti influence, which may have persuaded Liberty Media to open the gates for them. Michael Andretti, if you do not know, which a lot of you listening probably don't, left his ownership post at Andretti Autosport probably about a month and a half ago. He is not he's not really involved with the business of the team anymore. That includes the F1 side, that includes everything now that everything's been merged into Andretti Global. The weird thing is, this automatically opened the can of worms on the GM Cadillac F1 team again. Now that Andretti was gone, Liberty Media seemed completely open to getting Cadillac on the grid as early as 2026. because Cadillac said they won't have their factory engine ready by 2028, or they will. Their factory engine will be ready by 2028. They're going to have to get a customer engine for those first 2 years. I think that process is done just by drawing names out of the hat for the least amount of current supplied engines. So the two manufacturers that have the least amount of teams supplied right now are Honda and Ferrari. So the GM, I'm guessing they're going to go with Honda because of Andretti's current Honda ties in IndyCar. But moving on here, a quick note: a Ferrari 1-2 at Abu Dhabi and a McLaren 4-5 at Abu Dhabi. So if the two Ferraris finish first and second, and the McLarens finish fourth and fifth, the Constructors' Points Championship between Ferrari and McLaren will be tied at the end of the season. I don't know what the tiebreaker is. I think it's most wins, which I think McLaren has more. I'm pretty sure McLaren has more wins. So I think they'd keep the Constructors' Championship there. But to close off the show, we have a couple of sports car news, we have a couple of sports car things, and I'm going to make my pick for Abu Dhabi. It will not surprise you whatsoever. Sports car news: Robert Wickens is moving up to the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with DXDT Racing in their Corvette GT3 car in the GTD class with some fancy new hand controls that might allow him to make one last crack at the Indy 500 within a couple years if they can figure out how to cram it into an Indy car. And the only other bit of sports car news that I have is that Harder Racing, the Aston Martin Valkyrie V12 GTP car, will skip the Rolex 24 at Daytona. They will make their debut at Sebring. We do have a race this week. This is the one final race of the year. It is the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the Yas Marina Circuit on Yas Island in the United Arab Emirates. It will take place on December 8th at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The race, you will be able to watch the race on ESPN. My pick for that race is going to be Max Verstappen. I think he's just going to ride his championship high all the way to the end of the season and close out a very, very turbulent season for Red Bull. That's going to be it for this episode of Cars and Coffee, this show. I'll be back here eventually. I don't know, probably within the next week or so. So make sure to tune in every once in a while. Follow our Instagram, Cars and Coffee _WHJE for show updates. I'll make sure to post there more. Follow the YouTube, youtube.com/TWIRvids, so you can watch full replays or listen to full replays of every Cars and Coffee show that I do here on WHJE. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening to Cars and Coffee. I'm Nathan Ward. Here's Running Down a Dream by Tom Petty.